Been building this Chevy for a few years now, and I thought I'd give you a bit of an update on it and a bit of a build progress. Not something that we usually post, but it's pretty cool. I love it. It's one of my biggest passions, so I'll give you a bit of a rundown on it. Basically, this truck is a 1959 Chevy Apache pickup. It's the first of the Fleetside twin headlight trucks. Pretty cool truck. I've wanted this for a long time, since early 20s. I've wanted one of these. Just a little hard to find and a little bit out of my budget for many years. So finally picked this one up. Got it from Cali. Got it back over here as a roller. It was in pretty good condition rust-wise. Not too many repairs to be done, but the body, you know, multiple layers of paint, heaps of bog in it and stuff. So yeah, we pretty much got it back here. I've ripped the whole cab and tray off the chassis. Basically scrapped everything bar the body, the sheet steel work. So the chassis is a full chassis from America. It's a chop and block chassis to suit the 59 short bed. Got it through Muscle Car Imports in Australia. They got it over, they bring multiple over. And then I've done a little bit of work to the chassis, brace plates and bits and pieces to get it up to the engineer's specs for Australia. Bolt together chassis scared me a little bit, so basically welded the whole thing together and added brace plates where I need to. Now the chassis is pretty damn awesome. Comes with a Mustang Fox body rack and pinion front end, and your 4-link rear, 9-inch rear housing, airbag or round or coilover, depending on what you're going for, what your build is. So this truck was never really meant to go to the level that it's at, but the chassis has definitely taken it there. It's definitely a lot easier than me building one from scratch, which was the original plan. And I don't have the time anymore, so this has definitely saved me there with this chassis. It's definitely a piece of art. Comes with everything you need, so I was pretty happy with that. Everything from airbags to the Willwood Pro Spindle front end, the knuckles and that, and your fuel cell, all of those kind of things are included. So pretty damn cool. So the airbag system I'm running this is by AccuAir. It's an E-level kit. I've got a VT tank in the back, which is your valve tank. So all the valves are integrated inside the tank. Makes for a lot cleaner setup. And in this instance, I'm running hard lines through everything. So you can just plug them straight into the tank. Looks schmick, no external valves. Got your little control pad here, which I'm going to mount inside the car. Basically, it's got your preset ride heights, super high, super low, badass, scraping the ground, all that cool stuff. So yeah, really good bit of kit. It's also ADR approved, so once I get it in with all the sensors set up, it'll be legal. So one of my first projects that is legal, and I'm going to try and keep it that way. So driveline in this thing, LS3 6L80E Auto out of a V Commodore. Went the 6.3 because it's your biggest factory cubic inch block. I've had multiple LSs, multiple turbo LSs, supercharged LSs. Love the motor, love the driveline. GM, Chevy, all works. So super easy to find, super easy to get parts for. This 6.3 has VCM7 camshaft, oil pump, valve springs, all your standard stuff. Holy high-rise intake, and it's made it to a 6L80E auto trans. So 6-speed auto, nice cruiser, nothing too drastic. Cool car, cool cruiser. Don't want anything too crazy in this car. So that's why I chose that driveline. Super reliable, and again, I'm glad that they got a multitude of parts for these, because I needed to buy a Holley mid-drive front mount kit for the serpentine system on the front of the motor, just to fit it in the chassis. They don't line up too well with your factory aircon being down low near your chassis, your alternator down low, those kinds of things. So with the LS based engines, there's a lot of aftermarket accessories there, which allowed me to get this Holley kit, which multiple different options. This one sits just above the frame, nice, looks schmick, comes black, looks cool with the motor, so chose for that option. Trucks originally come with under brake master cylinders for the brakes, brake booster underneath the floor, real ghetto looking pedal setup to make it work. Not a big fan of that. So basically I've gone for a wheelwood setup, which is a traditional master through the firewall. I've had to modify the firewall to make it work, which I'll go into in a little bit. And we've got a wheelwood setup there with the brake bias push control valve, and then that'll run down to some big wheelwood brakes. When I got the truck from the States, it was a roller in white patina. Looked awesome in the photos. When I got it, it still looked awesome, except when you touch the paint, basically you turn white. So paint was chalky, it was acrylic, it was really, really, really terrible. Being a farm truck, a few different layers of white on it. It just wasn't what I was hoping for with the paint finish. I didn't want to be driving it and covered in white every time I got in and out of it. So decided that the best option for the body was basically a full strip sandblast, and then get it in Epitech, which is an epoxy primer, and then we can start the work on the vehicle, start the body work, remove all the dents, and then hopefully not have too much bog in this car. So it is pretty straight. I'm very happy with the condition of the shell. There was one cab corner to do, a small section in the floor, which I ended up replacing anyway, doing the firewall. So I needed to mount the brake booster up in the firewall. So I've ended up basically cutting out the whole firewall from top to bottom, and did some bead roll and some sheet metal and welded in a new sheet steel firewall. Remade the tunnel to suit the gearbox, the 6L80E, made it slightly higher, and made it look semi-factory. Didn't want to go too big, too crazy. Did the cab corner, and then we basically seam sealed and rhino lined the entire underneath of the cab, and the firewall and the inside up to the rear window. So pretty much at the stage now of rubbing back all the interior, and then getting colour on the interior, which will be pretty awesome. So colour inside the cab, then I can start putting the wiring in, the seats in, the seat belts, that kind of thing, getting most of the dashboard set up, and then get it back on the chassis ready to go for paint. So these bad boys are the wheels I've had on my Chev for quite a while. These are my wood years. Basically, we had to cut these at work out of some 16mm plywood, and it was rolling around on 4 of these for the first 18 months that I owned it. Due to the stud pattern, it's a Chevy 5x4 3/4, so not super common in Australia, almost Commodore but not quite Commodore. So I didn't really want to just throw some Commodore rims on it and hope for the best. It took me a while to find the wheels. Now, I did want originally some Detroit steel smoothies in 20-inch or something along those lines. Really like the look of them. However, the weight of them is pretty phenomenal. So I ended up scrolling Marketplace and finding a set of 20 and 22-inch billets. They're billet specialty wheels. They're 20x8.5 and 22x10s in that 5x4 3/4 stud pattern. So I spent a bit of time doing spent a lot of time actually doing some measurements, and worked out that they'd be pretty much bang on to suit this truck once the brakes are on there. So pretty happy I found these wheels. I love them. Interior wise in this truck, I ended up getting a kit from TMI in America. Basically they're an upholstery fabrication joint, I guess. They make seats from scratch, and they make them to suit everything. Old Chevys, old Fords, Mustangs, coupe sedans, whatever. They've got it to suit. So ended up getting a bench seat for this truck, reupholstered. I got some door cards from them and a few other bits and pieces for the interior, which look super awesome. I'm very happy with the quality of them. It took me about nine months to get the interior from the States, but well worth it. A lot better than just retrimming the standard bench seat, which, yeah, they're just not very comfortable. Just a terrible seat all around. So sold that and got this new seat from TMI, which I'm very happy with. Also got some seat belts from Seat Safe, which is a hot rod company in Australia. They basically make ADR approved seat belt options. Fair bit of work goes into working out the angles and exactly where you need each pickup point for the seatbelt for it to operate correctly and within Australian standards. So bit of fun there getting the seatbelts mounted and juggling the mounting points for those. So got those in there now and they're all welded in. They're getting ready to install once the cab's painted, the inside of the cab's painted. We've got a steering column and the uni joints, the column steering shafts from Parts for Hot Rods in Victoria. They're very handy. They got a lot of cool billet pieces and steering wheels and things like that. So I've got steering column, steering wheel, the unis, all the bits and pieces for mounting it through the firewall. For Parts for Hot Rods, they're phenomenal with their gear. They got a big range of stuff, which was very handy, going from the Ford Mustang Fox body steering rack to the column that I had. They luckily enough had an adapter to suit that. So the gauge cluster in the truck's decoded digital. I can't remember exactly which model it is, but it is the kilometre an hour metric version rather than the US. Truck is still left-hand drive, but I did just want to keep that easy to read and easy for myself and my wife and whoever else drives this truck. Keep it in kilometres, keep it legal, keep it awesome. So with this truck build being brand new, everything, decided to go with a full harness from American Auto Wire. They basically make a full vehicle harness that has everything from your fuse block, your relays. Every wire is labelled throughout the wire, so super easy to trace through the car. Goes pretty much from your headlights to your tail lights, front to back. Plenty of options there if you want to keep it semi-original and you don't want too many options, all the way through to the one I've got where I'm running an EFI fuel-injected motor, electric windows, those kinds of things through the vehicle. Fuel pump, senders in the back, all that stuff. They make plugs to suit the decoded digital dash. They make plugs to suit different ECUs. They're pretty good bit of kit, so decided to go with one of those. That's going to help me phenomenally through the car. It's just going to be a lot easier start to finish overall wiring. I do have to build the entire engine loom from scratch, however. It's not too hard though. I'd rather just do that and not the rest of the vehicle. So super handy there. And then classic pickup suppliers. They supplied me with so many parts for this car that I just couldn't find anywhere else, from the cab corners to the bottoms of the doors I've replaced. Every bit of glass in the vehicle except for the windows. I've gone for a one-piece window glass there. That was Glass for Classics that supplied those, because I'm deleting the vent windows out of the doors. So that's a custom bit of glass there. It's not an off-the-shelf thing. But classic pickup suppliers have supplied me with the tail light lenses, the headlight bezels, the buckets, pretty much everything for this car. Every plastic clip, fitting, screw, bolt, rubber, hinge, like everything they supply is just awesome. So I've basically got a spare room in the house full of parts for this car that is ready to go as soon as it's painted. Unfortunately, that's the last part of the project, so it's going to take a while to get there and finally see it finished, but it's going to be well worth it, I think. Subs, ordered these things many months ago. They've actually been very hard to get in Australia. They're finally here, so now I can start sheeting the floor out and getting the floor of the bed finished. As you can see, I've done all the framework in the floor and made a set of custom aluminium hinges. So we had to cut those out at work. Basically designed these hinges so that with the timber flooring in it, as this hatch comes up, it goes vertically up before it comes forward, and that way the timber will clear. So pretty happy with those hinges. Once I get the gas struts and things on this bed floor, I'll adjust them and make some stops for them, but they work really well for now. With it aired up that high, it looks like a Baja truck. Get some methods, some 37s. Yeah, long travel kit. We're changing plans. Having these wheel dollies is so handy. I move this thing so much in the shed. It's constantly backwards and forwards from the hoist to this side, so Love these things, they're super handy as we're about to move it. Bits of this whole build was the hard lines. So basically one of the things I wanted was everything hard line, no rubber, no flexible lines besides the brakes. Obviously you have to have flexible lines on your brakes, but hard line everything. So I have stainless steel brake line from front to back and then side to side with braided fittings to the brakes, so no rubber. I have aluminium 3/8 hard line, which runs from the VT tank at the back, AccuAir tank, all the way to the front, splits to the rear airbags. I've also got the dumps, which I've welded into the chassis, so it dumps all the excess air straight inside the chassis. And then my fuel lines as well. So with this fuel cell, I've made my own fuel pump hanger, and I've got an Aftermarket Industries little fuel setup inside this cell. And then I've run hardline from the fuel cell itself all the way to the front, through the motor, all the way to the back, and then it returns into the tank. And then I've got a rollover vent and some hardline running it, dumping it back inside the chassis. So pretty challenging, making the hard lines symmetrical side to side, working out how to run everything. I still have a lot more to do. This is not anywhere near finished. I've got to run a few lines for the next stage of the build, which I've only just decided I'm going to do. So that's pretty cool. But definitely a fun part of the build. Very challenging and looks awesome. Absolutely love these hard lines. Might polish them up once a chassis is all painted. Polish them up, make them look $1 million, and then put them all on for the final time. Steps of the build. Start of the weekend. I've just ripped the tray off this. I'm going to center the diff in the rear notch, get that sorted out. That'll let me work out where the tubs need to go inside the tray. Get the sheet metal in, get the tubs in, get that sorted, get it mocked up, get it tacked into place, fold up some sheet metal, do what I need to do, work out whether I'm going to run a steel floor, a timber floor, custom aluminium floor. I have no idea what I'm doing with the tub floor yet, so I'm going to work that out, hopefully get a plan of attack with that. And then once that's sorted, I've got to weld a few small things onto the chassis, things like brake line tab mounts and whatnot. Once that's done, the chassis is pretty much complete. I'll send the chassis off to get sandblasted and powder coated, get the thing in color. That way I can have the chassis pretty much put back together. I'll have the wheels on it, the diff in it, the engine, gearbox mounted for the final time. All the hard lines in, polish them up, make them look $1 million, get the whole thing rolling. And then that way I can store it, not in this shed. I'll store it in the house garage, and then that way we can do all of the body work and have a bit more room to work with, and then be able to make a mess and not cover this really nice powder coated chassis in bog dust and sanding dust and whatever we get up to. So that's the next few steps. I want to get the inside of the cab painted. I want to get the wiring in, the loom mounted up onto the dash. I want to get the Dakota Digital in and wired up. I want to get all the pedals in. I want to get the firewall repainted, and then seat belt, steering column, all that kind of interior stuff. I can start mocking up for carpet to be made. I'm going to do sound deadening and then carpet in the floor. After that, it's pretty much going to be painted chassis. We'll get the inside of the cab painted, drop the cab back on the chassis, have it as a roller ready to go. Work out radiator, build a custom radiator, custom lines, transcooler, all the bits and pieces for the front. Work out the aircon system in it, plumb all that in, and then cut all my holes, drill and tap everything I need to do. Work out everything prior to the car getting painted. Last thing I want to do is paint, so get the doors in, the one-piece windows and the doors. Get those in, and then pretty much have the wiring semi-complete. So end goal is to be able to drive this thing into the paint booth, spray the cab, drive it back out, spray all the external components, bolt it all back together, put the glass in, put the rubber on, put all the final trims in, job done. Last thing I want to be doing is jumping over a freshly painted car trying to get down somewhere to bolt something in place or fabricate something, whatever I need to do. So try and do all of that prior to paint, which is a shame. I'd love to see this thing painted. I've got a few things painted on the firewall. It looks awesome. So can't wait to see this thing in final colour. So stay tuned to see it. It's going to be awesome.